Verbally Effective with Ina Esco is an interview-style podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, and entertainment with a Memphis focus. Each week, I'm joined by a featured guest with roots in Memphis. Verbally Effective delves into each guest's personal journey to uncover the incredible stories fueling their purpose, the highs and lows of their pursuits, and how through their passion, they are moving the culture forward. Greetings, and welcome to another edition of the Verbally Effective Podcast. I am your host, your double E, Ina Esco. Thank you guys so much for tuning in yet again. And you know, this is the podcast that intersects art, culture, politics, entertainment with a Memphis focus. And you know, we are in the planning stages of the Pod Box Podcast Festival here in Memphis the weekend of September 27th and 28th. So make sure you guys are following me on all social media platforms at Ina Esco, ENAESCO, to stay updated. But let's get into our special guest today. He is the owner and the founder of Honest Initiative. He has a passion for helping others with troubled past. He is a former inmate with the Tennessee Department of Corrections, and I actually met this gentleman at a huge event here at Cosset Library that District Attorney Steve Mulroy was having a big lunch and learn. The project was called From Numbers to Narratives, exploring prosecution and safety in Shelby County. His name is Kenneth Muhammad. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing well, Sister Anita.
Yes.
Doing well.
Yes, I'm so glad that you came because, like I mentioned, I met you at the event. You were actually on the panel along with Cardell and D.A. Mulroy. You were a part of the research team for the project. So how has everything been going with that project since I've last seen you?
It's actually been going very well. As I was walking in, one of the individuals was telling me how the project, the feedback was great, how it ran here a few weeks, and I was going to the next destination. I do not know exactly. I was talking with Cardell, and they're just trying to move it around the city.
Yeah.
We started at the National Civil Rights Museum.
Oh, that's where it started.
Yes.
Okay.
Then we ended up at the Benjamin Hooks Library on Poplar. Then, of course, here at the Casa Library. So I think it's something that the citizens of Memphis will enjoy. The information is going to be eye-opening because it goes against the common narrative that you may see on the evening news.
That is definitely true. That is definitely true. Like just looking at the raw data. And I'm so interested to see what we are going to do with this project. So I'm looking for next steps with that. But it was such a pleasure to meet you that day. And I was like, I got to get you on a podcast, Mr. Muhammad, just to talk about your life. Let's start at the beginning. Where are you originally from?
I'm originally from a small town in Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan. It's about 30 minutes from Flint, depending on how fast you're driving. I grew up there. Went to high school at Saginaw High School, played basketball.
Were you hooping?
I was on the team.
You was on the team.
Well, I guess
somebody see you in your height. You like, oh, okay, Mr. Muhammad probably was hooping back then.
Well, I leave that for somebody else to say, but I was fortunate enough to be able to go to college, on the basketball scholarship.
Okay.
Everybody that was on our team, had to be pretty good because Coach said he had 12 uniforms. It might be 300 people try out, but I got 12 uniforms.
Oh, yeah, you made the list.
So
okay.
I made the cut, and so I was able to go to college. I ended up going to the University of Tennessee at Martin my first year.
Why University of Tennessee at Martin, coming from Saginaw?
Well, the thing was, I originally was going to go to Albany State, but I'm like most, I've never been away from home. And I was like, man, that's far. I don't know nobody. Well, my uncle, who went to the University of Tennessee, his wife was from Memphis, so they met in college. And he moved to Memphis, and he was teaching school and coaching here. And I said, man, how far is this from Memphis? He said, it's about a couple hours. I said, okay, I'll go there. And I went there, and even though I didn't complete my schooling there. But I fell in love with Memphis. And when I got down here, I was like that guy on Harlem Nights. I say, call home. I say, hey, Mom, I ain't coming back no more.
No, what was it about Memphis that had you so intrigued?
Well, you know, the freedom it afforded me. It was a big city. You know, Saginaw's a small city. You got big city issues, but it's a small city moving around. And it's just, I mean, man, Memphis in the 80s, it had everything going on. You could do anything. And athletics. You know, I played basketball, and it's a hotbed for basketball. Some of the best basketball players you'll ever run across come through Memphis. So it was always a game. You could catch a good game. So it was good for me, and the environment, I loved it. And plus, my favorite uncle, who I grew up idolizing, he was here, so he had everything that I was looking for. So.
Okay, so you was back and forth from Martin to Memphis.
Yes, the first year, and then. Like most of us who've never been away from home and got all that freedom, I exercised a little too much, so I had to hit the reset button, and I ended up leaving, transferring to a school in Wisconsin, Marion University, in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. So that's where I ended up finishing up my playing career. Actually graduated with a degree in business administration, so it worked out for me.
It worked out for you?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
I like it. I like you had to go back up north. Leave old Memphis.
Yeah, but I always came back.
You came back. Okay, now tell me what happened after you graduated college.
Well, the thing was, because people ask me, man, how did you end up in prison? And I don't shy away from the fact that, I was incarcerated, because when you look at the numbers, there's so many of our people that's, physically incarcerated now. I think the last time I checked it was about 2.1, 2.2 million, but connected to the systems, is 5 times that, whether it's on probation or parole, pending cases, in detention centers. A large segment of our citizenry is connected to the criminal justice system. So when they ask me how did that happen, it comes down quite simply to the choices we make and the decisions that sometimes you keep kicking it down the road. And you start off with something, it'll be small, and then it'll be another small thing, then it get bigger and bigger, and then pretty soon you'll wake up and you'll be like at 201 Poplar. You're like, how did I get here? So once I found myself incarcerated, in 1993, I was just a couple years.
Them early 90s.
Yeah, I was just a couple years removed from graduating. Imagine walking across the stage, receiving your bachelor's degree, and then a couple years later, you're at lower level. You're going to preliminary hearing. You're getting your indictment papers.
What were you thinking, Kenneth?
I wasn't. Quite simply, I wasn't thinking. And the thing we have to do and recognize and realize that we have to have a standard. And the standard has to be, based on, certain things, certain immutable, universal laws and principles. And we can't deviate from that. When we say these things like, we got to meet people where they are, but we have to understand that's true. But the standard has to be the standard. It's got to take what it's going to take. And once you start deviating from what mom and dad taught you, deviating from what maybe your pastors, there were certain things that we knew we shouldn't do, and we snuck into them. And the worst thing that happens, sis, you get away with it.
You get away with it. That's the worst thing that can happen.
You get away with it. You're like, oh, man.
I'm going to do it again.
I'm going to do it again. And then until you don't get away with it. And then when it's time to be held accountable, then that's the part you don't like, and that's the part they don't show enough of, in my estimation.
Now, what were you charged with?
I was charged with homicide.
Homicide.
Yes.
Wow. So you had to go to trial and all the things.
All of that.
All the things. Yes. Wow. And I know that you served time at the Tennessee Department of Corrections, right?
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a minute. Your experience with the Tennessee Department of Corrections. Can you describe your experience just, from the time that you stepped foot in there to your thoughts now about, like, looking back at, your entire experience, like from beginning to end?
Well, it's very traumatic, especially I had never been in trouble before. So now you looking in bars, you're hearing things, the noise level That's the first thing you like. It's loud all the time, except those couple hours when everybody sleep 2, 3 in the morning. You have to get used to that. Coming from pretrial detention, it's a different kind of stress level because you're dealing with the initial aspects of your case. But once you've been sentenced and you're doing your time, my sentence was life in 15. So that brings on another kind of anxiety and stress level. So you're dealing with all of that, and you're placed in an environment that of confinement with other individuals who have the same amount of stress on them because they're confined as well. So it's very combustible. So you have to learn how to navigate those things. You have to learn how to, one, deal with your personal safety, then 2, how am I going to make it? What's going to motivate me to get up in the morning? And so this is why there's the microcosm prison, which is a reflective of the macrocosm of our society. So if you got drug problems outside in society, guess what? You got drug problems in there. You got violence out there. Guess what? They're hyper violent on the inside. So you have to deal with all of those things. So the first thing is the psychological aspect, the mental aspect, dealing with that. How do you adjust to the anxiety? How you adjust to the grief? Contrary to what people believe, most people aren't hardened criminals. The acts, the offenses was committed pretty much out of desperation. Most of the time. Most of the crimes are committed against someone you knew. So, you're sitting there, you're like, wow, this is a person that I knew. We got mad at each other and, something went wrong. And you're dealing with it. How you deal with the grief? How do you deal with, trying to, make amends, atone for that? There's no avenue for that. So all those things are internalized. So you're dealing with hundreds of men that has those same issues going on. And so the environment is very tense all the time. So those are some of the things that initially I had to make that adjustment,
What got you through it?
What got me through it, I was smart enough to listen to people, because I said, okay, hey, man, how long you been locked up? 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. And, I've been locked up maybe 2 years. I'm like, man, something got to be wrong with you. I would have been tried to escape, But I let them, okay, he's not a better man than me. How was he able to cope with this? So I observed, I asked certain questions, and then, I listened to those who had advice. An older guy said, man, you look out of place. I was like, man, based on the paperwork, I'm supposed to be here. He said, well, that ain't what I mean. He said, man, he said, people fallible, they make mistakes. He said, but it ain't the mistake you made. He said, how you going to respond to it? He said, if you want to, man, make it out of here, you want to survive in here and then make it out, certain things you got to do. So, we would walk on the yard and we would talk. He said, man, boom, you educated. I can tell by the way you talk, you're educated. Man, you can keep educating yourself in here. He said, it's because they don't have the Pell Grant program anymore. He said, man, get certain books. Keep your mind free. He said, think like a free man until you are a free man again.
Wow, that was some great advice.
It was. And so those are the things that I did. Also, most of the times, there are what you call coping mechanisms, and individuals choose theirs. Prison, whether you know it or not, probably half the prison guards are women. So some guys, get them a girlfriend, There's, it's just real,
A real girl, like in their mind, or
no, they dating for real.
I heard that goes down, and
it's very common. Certain things they're not going to put on television.
Right.
But I lived the life, and I got many friends that they'll call in and they can stamp what I say. And so, some are openly dating, but some they have sneak and dating and whatnot, and they have those relationships. But guess what? When you have those relationships, you still have those same relationship problems.
Drama.
Her shift, she works from 6 to 2. You dating, and then you dating somebody on the night shift. She come in.
The same type of drama.
The same type of drama.
Or she might be dating somebody
exactly.
else up in there too.
Yeah, so you had those kind of issues.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, you had the drug issues, contraband.
And it's just steady flowing through there, like as if you were out here in these Memphis streets.
Oh yeah, it's. I don't want to say easier, but anytime there's money to be made. And you have individuals who would do anything for $1, then you're not gonna stop the drug problem. You'll go and get your cell phone. I remember when they first started, when when they hit the Tennessee Department of Correction, they used to be the little small Motorola's. You remember those? You get like 2 for $29.99 out here.
Dang.
But out here in prison, those phones sold for $500 a piece.
Woo!
And, during the shakedown, what that is, when they locked everybody in and bring in people and they bring you out and search your cell, they found that this facility I was at, South Central, almost 200 phones. Guys don't sneak 1 or 2 phones in through visitation. They get that stuff in, another kind of way.
Exactly.
100 of them at a time. And as I just say, you get 100 of them, you sell them for 500, you do the math. So it's worth the risk.
You was slanging them phones up and down?
Nah, I couldn't slang no phones.
You did with that?
I got to keep it 100. I wasn't slanging nothing.
Did you establish, now I heard what you said, that, you looked to some of, more so the people that spent a lot of time there because they got the experience on how to survive in here. Was that your core group of friends, or
in the
what
beginning?
Did your okay in the beginning?
Guys vibe. Say you're affiliated with one of the street organizations, so they're gonna usually roll together. Memphis guys, hang out with Memphis guys. I play basketball, so the hoopers, we kind of hung out together. But that's how in prison you roll, unless it was a external thing that came. Say one of the white gangs had a problem, then the black guys would generally get together like that. Or say Memphis and Nashville, Memphis Jackson, some of those small little things, cliques you may call them. That's it. But my core group of guys were guys that I did time with at 201 Poplar. They had their head on as straight as it could be on, and just wanted to do their time and get out. But since I was a basketball player, and sports is huge in prison, it used to be. I mean, they would gamble on games. The same thing you see on TV, fantasy football. They had that way back then. So if that was your skill set, you could kind of like ease in and make a name for yourself. So I initially made a name for myself playing ball until I got into something else, and that's what I'm known for now.
And what is that?
Well. As I was saying, sister, the coping mechanisms. People, they drink, they drug. I played basketball. I would exhaust myself. I ran in the morning, played ball in the afternoon, lift weights or whatever, so I can go to sleep because, again, the anxiety of being locked up. Well, during that particular time, a brother stopped by and invited me out to a service. He said, man, come out, And brothers do that all the time. On Friday, the Muslims get together. And Saturday and Sunday, Christians get together. And I did with him like I did with all the other brothers. All right, man, I'm going to come. Knowing I'm lying. Yeah, knowing I'm lying. Because Friday, that's when we really got down in the gym.
Okay.
And so I had to go and protect my rep. Well, with this particular Friday, I said, you know what, I ain't going to go to the gym. I'm going to go down here to the service, And I went down there, and the brother put in a tape. And I'm listening there. And I was like, man, that's different. I said, okay. I go back the next week, and the brother was talking. And I said, man, this brother here, standing up here, talking about me right in my face. I know we going to have to get it on. He wasn't talking about me, but he was talking about the things that I was engaged in, that we engage in, that's not really us, but we do these things because we don't know a better way. And so then I started reading. He gave me a pamphlet called Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development. And I was really reading and taking notes. And I saw the brother. He said, man, you had my book 2 weeks, man. You ain't going to read it. Get back to him. I said, no, I done read it several times. I'm taking notes. So I kept coming out. Well, Ramadan, which is a yearly thing that the Muslims do, fasting and prayer, read the Holy Quran. He invited me to do it. I said, you know what, I'm going to try it. I don't know too much about, Muslim, Islam, none of that stuff. I'm not religious. At that time, I wasn't religious at all. My thing was, hey, I prayed to God. He didn't hear me. So if he don't bother me, I ain't going to bother him. I just kept on doing what I was doing. Well, I said, man, I've been to college, and I've never even heard of this book called Holy Quran. I never even read it. So we're reading it, and we're talking, and then all of a sudden, I'm like, man, I'm actually feeling better. I don't get these headaches. He said, man, only thing you can't do, I don't want you smoking no weed, or you can't be selling no weed. I said, man, you drive a hard bargain, I said, but I'm going to try it anyway. And guess what? When I got finished, He said, man, I said, I like this, man. I think I want to keep doing this. And I not only stopped smoking weed, and that's what, I'm saying this to all of us elders, stop acting like you never did nothing wrong to these children. See, you getting on them about doing something at a particular age, and you did it too. Be honest about it. I didn't fall out of heaven. I came up through hell, just like most of us.
Come on now.
So I have no problem, talking about those things. But once I accepted Islam, not only did I've never smoking weed since that, I never had the desire to smoke, never had the desire to drink, none of those things. It took the desire away because I found something that appealed to my nature. And I ain't saying that's for everybody, but there's going to be something. You have to have something in prison that motivates you to get up every day. So once I started doing that, then I started applying the principles of the self-improvement package, which is based on 3 major principles: self-examination, self-analysis, then self-correction. And one of them is entitled Mixed Feelings and Controversy. How do you handle that? How do you handle building the human potential, overcoming difficulty, the struggle for balance? Each one has a particular subject matter that you got to continually go in. And the practice refines the theory. And once you practice the principles, then you go right back into it. So I was like, man, I'm feeling good. I know I was messed up. This will work wonders for some of these other brothers.
Okay.
And so I started teaching. And I never stood up and talked in front of nobody.
But you did. Islam changed your life.
It changed my life, and I heard the minister say this, and I've heard a lot of people say a lot of things. Some of them I believe, some of them not so much. But I heard him say this, and it was like the whole room went dark, and with nobody in there except me and that television screen. He said, there is no human being that cannot be redeemed. And that touched me. It grabbed me. I thought about that all night. I don't even think I went to sleep. I said, man, it's not over.
It's not over.
It's not over.
Wow. Did you still play basketball?
Yeah, I still had games.
You still had your rep? Going?
Yeah, I was still dropping 30 a game when I played. Yeah, I was getting them some work, sister. I was
you
getting
had
some
to keep
work.
that going, right?
Yeah, but at a certain point, the way I used to, the same intensity I would do the wrong thing, I had the same intensity for doing the right thing. So eventually, my basketball got less and less, and I started studying and teaching more. So the younger brothers that come to prison, they would always just call me by the name, Brother Kenneth, Brother Minister. I play occasionally. The older brothers, they still know me as K-Dub, K-Dub, K-Dub
out here. Wow. Now, when you got the word while you were incarcerated that, your time is coming, you're about to get out, what changed for you?
What that older gentleman told me to always think like a free man. So I always had that in my mind. Okay, I'm going home. I can't say when. I'm going home. Even though it was decades down the line, I'm going home. So when I got the word, it was the process. I got notified about a parole hearing. I went up. Never had so much anxiety in my life. Could barely speak. Well, I got recommended, at that time, it would make you, if you did over a certain amount of time, take a psychological evaluation. So you go to Nashville, they ask you 3-4 questions, basically, do you like guns? You fantasize about violence, things that don't make no sense, But I went, I got recommended for that, came back, went up again, got granted, then got it reversed and got recommended to come back and do another year, take a cognitive behavior program. The thing about prison, they have the same program, they repackage it and rename it. It'll go from anger management to cognitive behavior to something else. So eventually I went up for parole 3 times. This is about an 18, 20-month process before I was actually released. So that was the process. As far as the change, my mentality was always, I'm gonna be free one day. So I always was planning for it. When I went up for parole, I presented them a 36-month plan of what I'm gonna do the first 6 months, 12 months, 18, 24. Detail. I'm very detail oriented like that. And so, and I stuck to the script. I stuck to the script.
Stuck to the script. So when you were released, you stuck to that plan.
Immediately, I got out. My family actually was on the family vacation. They take in July. So, but the brothers from the mosque picked me up. They're from Nashville. They drove me to Memphis.
Okay.
You know, drove me to the family home.
You had to get back to the M.
Hey, you know, always to the M. You know, remember that old commercial? Just got to get to Memphis.
Yes,
So,
I do.
Yeah, so I got here immediately. Registered. Went straight to work. A brother that came up to the prison, I had the audacious idea that it'd be good to teach some business classes. But we had a brother named Omar Baruti. He would come up and he actually taught the business classes, how to be an entrepreneur, how to start your own nonprofit and different things of that nature. He heard I was out, but he was doing a radio program. I think it's 1600, 1601, something like that. So I got out on a Tuesday. That Sunday I was on the radio. And
Okay.
Just telling them, you know, just telling them my story. Then, you know, somebody hear it and pick up on it. Hey, why don't you come here? So I was going back and forth to Nashville a lot, doing different things with the mosque. And but the brother Shaheed, who was Andre at the time, the brother I was telling you about that was worked with the Memphis Police Department, had the SOS program, a podcast he was doing. And it was a radio program at the time that evolved into a podcast.
Okay.
But long story short, they were talking about prison reform. And so he said, man, why don't you come on and talk, you know? And I was just talking about, you know, my experience, you know. And I guess it went over well, so I kept coming back on. So long story short, sister, I was comfortable doing certain things, so I didn't deviate when I got out. I continued to do the things that I was doing in there. So it was a natural thing with me. I had to adjust to certain things like noise level. I went to get I had no identification at all. So I had to, you know, go and get driver's license, social security card.
Was it an easy process?
It was not.
It was not.
It was not. And that was one of the things that helped prompted me with the homeless initiative. Okay, people consider me as being pretty well adjusted. I had difficulties, you know, whether they was obvious to anyone. I had certain difficulties. You know, I was locked up almost 26 years. I ain't drove a car, so I had to learn how to drive a car.
Life as you knew it was different.
The thing that terrified me the most was the kiosk, because they would say that, and I was like, what do you mean kiosk? Okay, but I'm not going to look like no imbecile, so I'm just going to observe, you know.
Yeah.
Then some little old lady just took me by the hand and said, let me show you how to work this, because, you know, because most places self-serve. I was like, okay, that's a hurdle. But being released, and it was intentional on my part, maybe not so much on any other person's part, but I didn't have a driver's license. And so I didn't have a social security card. I didn't have a copy of my birth certificate. So I didn't have any identification. So I go one place, they say, hey, well, you got to produce a social security card. I don't have it. You go get the social security office, you need your driver's license. I don't have it. So people had to help me along the way with certain hurdles. And so I said, I wonder how many other brothers and sisters have these same issues.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because you have to get reacclimated to the speed of society, the way things move. In prison, we kind of control, you know, the flow based on what we're into. But out here, you don't control the flow as much other people do. So you have to figure out what lane you're going to be in and then learn how to, you know, solidify yourself in that lane. So it's trial and error, but I had a fantastic family, a strong base, and through my faith, you know, being in the mosque, I was able to do the things that I love to do, and that was give back and talk to young people.
Yes.
So it made it easier, but it was the difficulty to it.
Oh, yeah, definitely some challenges. Even with the laws, right? As a convicted felon, navigating life after, right? What type of laws have impacted your life the most?
Well, it hit me immediately when I got out. My uncle took me to, I won't say the name of the insurance, because he wanted to get some life insurance, basically. And I was turned down. I had the money. I've been saving my little nickels and dimes and stuff, so I had my little bank account. So I'm going to get, you know, some insurance policy. In the event something happened, you don't have to get no GoFundMe page or pass that hat around. And I was denied because I was, you know, a convicted felon. I said, what they
Denied life insurance.
Yeah, I was like, what does that have to do? I can afford the premium.
Yeah.
And it was like, no, we don't do that. And it was running it down. I was like, okay. I was like, wow. You want to get your own apartment? Nah, most places, if you're a convicted felon, yeah, you can't stay there. You know,
Because they view you as a risk because of that convicted felon.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and it get to the point is, you know, you say you pay your debt to society, right? Mm-hmm. But the debt is never paid when you always turn down for that reason. That's not going to change. You know, I'm not always going to be someone that has been convicted of a felony. I'm going to be a convicted felon, you know, according to, you know, the way you view it. So those things not going to change. So I'm always going to be, you know, having to live in the margins. I can never outgrow that, you know, and those are the things that's very real to thousands and thousands of people, not just here in Memphis, but all over the United States.
All over.
You know, when you're trying to get a job. Now, granted, I went to college before I was incarcerated.
Yeah, what does the degree mean now?
Okay, it's basically paper unless you're doing something independently, you know. And here's the thing. Amazon had just came. This is 2018, so I think they were just getting started here. I mean, they had this big job thing where basically when you walk in, you're hired. You're taking your picture for your ID. So I was like, well, cool. I can start off there, boom, and then, you know, figure out how to navigate. Everybody's hired. I mean, only thing you got to do is pass background check and the drug screen. I don't know how many people was running around worried about passing the drug screen. I didn't have that worry, you know. But long story short, I'm waiting. I get the letter, and they tell me, hey, you know, can't hire you because of your past. Now, you're just getting a box and putting it on the truck. It don't take much skill for that,
yes.
You know. I mean, wow, I got a college degree, and you tell me I can't even do that. You know, I reach out to somebody, you know, because the parole officers, you know, they want you to be gainfully employed. You know, even though I was a minister, one parole officer was good with it, but they change, you know, every, you know, 6 months or whatnot, you know, they move on. The new one I had wanted to actually see a stub, never forget this. So I asked somebody who was going around saying that they assisted formerly incarcerated people. That's what they were saying.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, so I said, I reached out to him. Then he called me back. I'll never forget. And he said, man, I found a job for you. Now, granted, I told him who and what I do. Gave him a copy of my resume and stuff like that. You know, I managed, you know, restaurants, managed shoe stores. You know, I've been a manager. You know, that was my, you know, background. He said, man, I got a thing where you can wash dishes at this place for $8.50 an hour. And I said, man, let me get back to you on that. You know, I always try to be respectful. I was like, wow. I said, man. I said, they right. You never get away from it. And then you wonder why some guys say, you know, get tired of it, you know. But I've had that stick-to-itiveness. I think I got it from my mom, you know.
Yeah.
She's Jehovah's Witness, so she would go out and knock on doors. You know, people open the door and close the door in their face. So, you know, you closing the door in my face don't bother me. I'm immune to it. I just need, you know, I can get 1,000 no's. I'm just looking for the one yes.
Yeah.
And so actually, there was a second chance program out of UPS, and a lot of people didn't know about it. And someone turned me on to it, and I actually ended up, you know, working there. And I moved up into the, you know, supervisory role out there.
Okay.
But there was some things that happened during COVID. I lost someone very, very close to me. It's like my little brother, you know. And it just hit me one morning. I was like, man, life is very fragile. You never know when it's gone. I've been gone half of my life. You know, God didn't give me a second chance to move packages. You know, I'm supposed to move men. So, you know,
yes, sir.
I put in my 2 weeks notice, and, you know, I've been rocking and rolling ever since.
Rocking and rolling and making an impact out in this community here in the Mid-South and beyond. And it's very interesting, you know, everything that you're telling me, because we recently did an interview on the morning show with a woman who was from the election committee. Yes, because, ma'am. Of course, you know, we have the upcoming elections.
Oh, yeah.
And so, you know, one of my questions to her was, you know, because they're trying, of course, to mobilize people, get them to vote, get them registered. And I'm like, so now that we have a convicted felon that's running for president, can convicted felons vote? And she was like, no, ma'am, not here in Tennessee. And I was like, so is there not a process for a convicted felon to eventually vote? And she said, I think she's called it a restorative type process. They would have to see a judge, go through all the things, and the judge makes the call if they can vote.
Yes, that is a process where you have to have your voting rights restored. Or basically, if you go all the way through the Constitution, it's really having your citizenship restored.
Your whole citizenship.
And again, we promote ourselves as this Judeo-Christian society built on forgiveness and love. We hold up, these examples. But when it gets down to it, it's not for everybody. It's not. At a certain point, you always still paying your price. You're still paying your debt. It's not paid. I give half my life. I was 52 when I got out. I was locked up almost 26 years. That was half of my life, and I can't vote. So, the founding father said, hey, no taxation without representation.
Okay.
I'm paying all kind of taxes.
All kinds.
And I don't have a say-so in no election.
You don't, but we have the Republican representative, Donald Trump, running for president and was convicted.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's I smile because it's taking the mask off the mask of civility off of this beast. And what I mean by that is, okay, you espouse something out of your mouth, but now when the rubber hits the road, what are you gonna do? You saying it's all right for him to run for president? All right, I can be fine with that. But then if it's all right that he runs as a convicted felon, why isn't it all right that I be able to, if I choose to, cast a vote as a convicted felon when he ain't paid a day?
A day.
He ain't did anything. You got men that been 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And I still don't have the responsibility or the right to say, hey, I want to vote for this person as my local representative, my state representative, or my national representative. I can't say nothing. So you got millions of people who are held under those laws that those people are going to write, that they're going to initiate. They're bound by the laws. But I don't have a say-so in who gets the chance to write those laws. That's a farce.
It's definitely a farce. Not only he's been convicted, but now has full immunity based off of the Supreme Court justices ruling. So it's like it don't matter what he do no more.
Yeah, and he said it, and we laughed about it. He said, hey, I can go out here in the middle of Times Square and shoot somebody, and I won't lose a vote. And we laugh, oh, that's just Trump. No, he's telling you something.
He been saying this stuff.
He's telling you, but we know we got so caught up in the buffoonery, but he was getting his circuit court judges in place.
He was strategic about it. He was very strategic.
Yes, he got a Supreme Court justice in place. And so they have orchestrated how they're taking America. What does make America great again really mean to those that are saying it? We're not having that conversation. A lot of times we are always on the defensive because they say, oh, you want to bring in race into the argument. Well, we never escaped it.
Right.
See, we have been victimized here in America because of our race. There was no process that say, okay, race don't matter no more. Just because they stopped fighting the Civil War, just because we got certain rights enforced, because, they teach our children. Some of them will say, well, Martin Luther King got us the right to vote. You had the right to vote, right? 1866. Was it enforced? Because after Reconstruction, it was just like they said on Roots Part 2, times change.
Okay.
Color don't vote no more. All of these things. We say, in prison, we used to talk about different rules. We say, well, I'm under the grandfather clause. Well, what's the origin of the grandfather clause? Many people don't even know what it was. Said the only way you're allowed to vote is your grandfather voted. Not your father, but your grandfather.
Grandfathered in.
Yeah, your grandfather was a slave. He was picking cotton. He didn't vote. He wasn't even considered a human being, 3/5 of a human. So they would come up with all of these ways to take our vote. Poll tax. How many jelly beans are in this job? Little stupid things. They don't do it so much so in your face, but they do it subtly You know, they're doing away with DEI, diversity.
Oh, definitely.
Equity and inclusion. They're doing away with those departments.
Just gone, erased.
You know, with a stroke of a pen.
All of the, the very few black CEOs that we had at these major corporations, it's probably under 1% at this point.
Exactly.
Overall.
You know, and it was not talked about. You know, we look at it and we laugh at it. I say, hey, you check that on the news. Oh, I don't like watching the news because it's so depressing. They dependent on that. Mm-hmm. They dependent on you to sit on your hands. They dependent on you not to voice your opinion. And we have this myth that somebody's going to come and solve all of our problems for us. And it has never happened. It's no people has had somebody else solve their problem. We have to take the responsibility to solve our problems ourselves.
We definitely do. We're talking about former President Donald Trump a bit. Let's talk about current President Joe Biden. Did you see the debate?
Ooh.
Did you get a chance to see the debate?
Yes.
And what were your immediate thoughts?
I was very disappointed, for a lot of reasons, because I think if that's what the choices we have, we say things, and I always, in prison you sit around and you find things to talk about. So the lesser of two evils. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's still evil. Evil is consistent. The lesser of two evils. We say those things. So I'm looking at the struggles that President Biden has. I don't know him personally. I've dealt extensively with the crime bill that he pushed past, and the effects of it, with mass incarceration. That's a reality.
Yeah.
But I also know the other guy over there. So I'm like, okay, I understand what you mean, the lesser of two evils, but we don't have a third option, or But when I saw the debate, I felt the people that I don't want to use the word, was handling President Biden. He got some bad advice. He was trying to remember things. And at a certain age, you've been around your grandma and granddad. When they get in their 80s, their mind don't work like that. Just let him talk about what he talk about and answer the question. He's been doing it his whole life. Now, the thing is, the talking heads, the media programs, they focused on all of those gaffes and whatnot. But they didn't talk about the almost 100% lies that the other guy, Mr. Trump, was saying.
It was very interesting to see how the direction of the media right after the presidential debate, because I wasn't hearing a lot about Trump.
Yeah, it was all about, man, Joe Biden needs to step down. He's getting old. All right. I'm not even going to discuss that. This man blatantly lying.
Yes.
Blatantly lying. He's showing you verbally that he's incompetent on that level. He don't comprehend. And people, I haven't heard it. I don't know if it's taught, but is he picked the vice president candidate?
They have not announced it yet, but that is something that we spoke about this morning on the morning show. He says that he's waiting for Joe Biden to see what Joe Biden camp going to do, if they're going to make him step down. And if not, between now and the Republican convention, he'll make the announcement at the Republican convention, which is next week, I believe.
Yes, rather late. But Trump sees himself in the line of guys like Putin and whatnot. He wants to be a dictator.
That's his buddy, ain't
it? Yeah, that's how he sees himself. President is a position on the way to something else that he really wants. And
what does he want?
Oh, he wants to be viewed like a
dictator.
Putin, a dictator, exactly. He wants to have the final say. So he wants to be that guy that had that Apprentice show that just comes in and says you're fired. And the government don't work like that. And he was frustrated his first presidency when he was there, because he's like, I got to do this. I can't just go in there and do that,
He's used to getting his way now.
Exactly. And it's design, the different branches of government, So now he got to pick a staff and do all those other things. And by him being in office, the things he didn't like, he's going to legislate them out.
Just get them out.
He's just going to legislate them out.
That's where I think this full immunity decision is tied in. I think that's where this Project 2025 we keep hearing about is tied in.
Yes.
To the direction if Trump, gains the reins again. Like, it's the end of democracy as we know it. Like, we'll never vote for a president again. Like, he will be it.
it would just show that the whole process is a sham. And what is, I hate to quote Brother Malcolm, but he made this statement famous: the chicken's coming home to roost. Because a lot of things that we as a country have put down and been able to get away with because we control the narrative. Those phones that's causing us so much problems with our children and whatnot also have shown the world the atrocities that goes on in the name of different governments that we have been supporting, that we have sat and turned the other way and haven't said anything, because that's the problem that's going on in the East. People want to know, okay, when you going to take a stand? The talking point was always Israel has a right to defend itself, and and got no problem with that. But if they have a right to defend themselves, don't the people in Birmingham have a right to defend themselves? People in Selma have the right to defend themselves? I mean, the right to defend yourself shouldn't just be a selective right for people that you have favor with you. It should go across the board. So I'm thinking right now, as a democracy, we're in the balance. We're in the balance. And right now, it could go either way. We have to, as a citizenry, electorate, black, white, or whatever, we have to decide where do we want to go. What do we want to be known for? Who are we really as a people? Are we that people that are innovative, God-fearing people, God-loving people, believes in second chances, all those things that we espouse? Or are we going to be totally opposite? We're going to be vindictive, we're going to be cruel, we're going to be oppressive, we're going to pretty much be a dictatorship. Those are the things. If we want dictatorship, we want democracy. We have to make those decisions.
What do we want? And at the same time, let's talk about, you mentioned our youth. Let's talk about that for a minute, because, now we have Generation Z voting.
Is Z now?
Is Z. That's the age range that's voting for the very first time. But even up under them, the newest one is Gen A, Gen Alpha. That's like my 10-year-old and below.
Yes, ma'am.
And they might got another one I don't know about. But let's stick with Gen Z because they can vote. Then you have your millennials next that are a little older. How would you encourage them about the importance of voting? Even though we just spoke about, so much at stake with our democracy right now, how can we get through to the younger generation?
I heard a wise man says, once you have a certain knowledge and wisdom and understanding, you'll vote, for your best interest. So the first thing I think we have to do, I don't think they teach civics. Civics used to be a mandatory class, but it's not mandatory anymore. So you have to understand how government works. Why do you got to vote? Us as Black Americans, we have to understand the struggle to get that right. And why is it important? And take them all the way back to Reconstruction, where we were voting blocks. We had our own, political action committee, and we would vote for Mr. John Henry's son, and we had, black politicians back then, contrary to what's, been put out there, because we voted our self-interest. So we had to find out, what's our interest as a people. We tend to vote individually instead of collectively. So what we have to do now with the Gen Zs is teach them the power of the vote. We have the numbers. We can do certain things, but we have to have individuals that are going to be beholden to us. No people puts someone in office that doesn't, they get something back from them. We can study different communities, and see how they do things, Asian communities, Hispanic communities, even the LGBTQ plus communities. They get their issues talked about, you see, and because they have a political power base. We as Black Americans don't necessarily have that power base. The Democratic Party take for granted that they're going to get the black vote, so they don't offer us anything. When they making appointments or doing certain things, they don't cater to us. We got to find someone who's going to cater to our needs, and then we got to hold them accountable for that. It can't just be lip profession. We've been getting lip service since the LBJ. We got to somebody got to put something down on it, because we look at our communities and we say, oh, it's this, it's that, we're running from it. But guess who's running to it? You have people coming in from overseas. Where do they put their first businesses?
In our community.
Yes, because why? They know, they providing services and goods that we're not providing for ourselves. And so we spend our dollar where we don't get respect. And then we cry, we moan and complain about these things when all we had to do was come together collectively. So with the election, let's find somebody that's, speaking about what's going on in our community. Whether, politics is on the local level, okay, let's start locally. Hey, this is what we need. This is what we got to have. These schools, we need these programs for our children. Who's going to do that? Whoever's going to do that, that's who we're going to put in. That's who we're going to support. Anybody else, we're taking our support from you. And we have to be firm on that. And we can't be fickle. I said something and I hope this don't sound bad. I said, man, I kind of want to get, that white folk benefit of the doubt.
Okay. That instant.
Yeah, well, he didn't mean no harm. We are so offended so easily with one another. If I step on your foot or if I get to speak, I could be on the phone having an in-depth conversation and I walk by you, sister, and then I don't speak. Well, yeah, so-and-so been there never say that to me.
Funny.
He been there never say that to me. As long as he live. As long as I live, because I didn't speak the one time. we got to mature, is what I'm saying. Intellectually, emotionally, we got to be mature. But our young people got to understand the value of the vote, why they should vote, and who should they vote for, and they have to vote in their best interest. But they got to be taught what's in your best interest, because politics without economics, is what? Symbol without substance.
Wow. Now, I know you have children, and they are in that Gen Z millennial bracket. I think they pretty much in that Gen Z bracket. What are your kids saying about this upcoming election this year?
Yeah. It all depends which one you're talking to. The girls, they in college and whatnot. So, it's did you see this on the news? They like, hey, I don't believe anything either one of them saying. The boys pretty much like, hey, they oblivious to it or whatnot. My youngest son, he's a senior in high school, so he's not talking about it as much. He's trying to, it's his next step. But with the girls especially, they disbelieve, the trust in either candidate is at all-time low. They don't believe anything because they live long enough and they really haven't seen any true benefit from the office of the presidency. And I explained it to them like this. I said, America, look at it as a corporation. The president is like the CEO. He still got to answer to shareholders and whatnot. And it's just a position that normally you get voted in, but your power can be limited based on your ability to get the other side to see what it is you're trying to do. And what has happened in the last few presidencies, it got real noticeable with our brother, President Obama.
Oh, yeah.
That's when things get real noticeable. I don't care what Obama say, I'm against it. He'll come out and say, it's a good day. Man, no, it's not. And that's where we are now. This side is not working with that side. There's no cooperation. And then we wonder why we got what we got, in the cities with the youth. When they cut on TV, that's how they see their elders acting. And so we can't expect the fruit to be any different than the tree that produced it.
Man, it can be a vicious cycle, but I'm glad you're having these conversations with your kids about, politics in general.
Yes.
How important this upcoming election is. Let me ask you something. When you were locked up, did y'all talk about politics a lot?
All the time.
All the time.
I'm going to tell you,
I knew you were going to say that.
There's nothing that you generally do out here that you don't do in prison. It's just the location. And, and it's a concentrated environment because it's smaller. And then you got a lot of, testosterone in there. So some of the conversations will get heated. But everything is up for debate. Somebody take this position. Yeah. And you got to be able to defend your position. Now, just like I hear, some people just going to be argumentative. But you have been in some in-depth conversations, and you'll sit there and be like, I got to go back and check this out, because somebody will bring something in. And that's the thing that I'm thankful I was in those environments that, nurtured me in a lot of different ways, and opened up my mind. Because even though I had been to college, my I looked at education as a way to get a better job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not the purpose of education. Education was never designed for you to get a better job. The word education comes from a Latin word, educere, which means to bring forth. So whatever is deposited in you from birth is to bring it out of you. And the teacher has to see whatever that is and use whatever methods, to get that out of you. And that's what we've gotten away from. We as black people, we want to get, we go to college and we major in things that is not useful out here now.
Mm-hmm.
We just take something basic, just say we got a college degree because we want to get a job. When basically you go to trade school or you'll get somebody basically that's white, and they've done studies on this. I've seen the statistics. You can have a degree black, a man or woman, an undegree white man or woman. They tend to make more money. So
yes.
They tend to make more money, so it's not about the degree. I just heard something yesterday from Cardell. He was saying, he used the phrase, that's a black job. And I was like, I saw something.
The black jobs, because of Trump at the debate.
Yeah. I didn't know where that came from. So
Trump. From Trump at the debate. The black jobs are going to go to.
Yeah, the black jobs.
Yes.
Wow.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
And we got our young people saying, hey, I might vote for Trump. We're going to let me get this stimulus check.
Exactly. All the misinformation.
That's all it is.
What do you think about social media?
I think it's fantastic, but I think it has to be educational aspect given to our youth. We use it all willy-nilly. We just posting likes. We doing crazy things to get seen. Mm-hmm. But you have, at the touch of your finger, you can communicate all over the world. And that's a wonderful thing. So you have to be educated on the proper use of social media is what I'm saying. You can't just give a teenager a phone. Sometimes I've seen children 7, 8 years old with a phone and expect them to do the right thing. My uncle, he said, man, I taught school. He said, if I see 5 or 6 young people huddle up looking at something, I know they're watching some pornography or something. They doing something they ain't got no business on the phone. So I said, yeah, we have to use the education. But me personally, I think it's good. You're able to get broad podcasts like this one, different ones, get different ideas from different people all over the world. So that in and of itself is a good thing. But I do think we have to be educated on its proper use.
That's right. Artificial intelligence, this is something that our country, global, just the world is moving in that direction with artificial intelligence. They even have talks of Elon Musk's XAI supercomputer company headed right here to Memphis as well. What are your feelings on artificial intelligence as a whole?
Well, on the Elon Musk first.
XAI?
Yes. And I don't know if this is true because I didn't get a chance to get depth. They said that particular plant is only going to generate about
just a few jobs.
Yeah, maybe 30, 40 jobs. So you're getting all those billions of dollars of tax breaks, you get all that, but he's only going to bring 40 jobs. That in itself don't make sense to me.
It doesn't. And it's not a lot of information that you could find out about this XAI company online or anywhere.
Of course. So
it's all under wraps.
That's why we got to vote now on self-interest.
Exactly.
As far as artificial intelligence, we have to be careful because a lot of things about our past has already been, whitewashed and taken from us. And now we're actually giving our creativity over to a machine, and where is that going to leave you? It's going to leave me, and we have to understand that it's good, it's convenient, but understand the people in power, how they can use it against you. As they weaponize everything against us. We have to look at it like that. And so we have to be careful. It's a new phenomenon, this, Chat GPT, all these things. It helps you write your paper real quick, but, you get lazy, you're not able to think, you lose your creativity. And those are things where we've always prided ourselves on. And so just because it's convenient, don't rely too much on it. So with the artificial intelligence, what was that movie? Wasn't it Will Smith that had that movie?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you again, if I don't need you, then what you gonna do?
Oh yeah, you're right about that. I've seen on social media on this AI page I follow, trying to keep up with AI, right? And there's a whole restaurant. I think it's a franchise now. They don't need any human beings in there.
Wow.
None whatsoever. They're cooking the food. They're serving the food. Everything is robots. Like me, I can't trust that. I need a human somewhere up in the mix.
Who's tasting it? Yeah. Because, see, I'm going to tell you the things that's unique about food. It's never the same. Mm-hmm. Okay, even if the same person is preparing it, things different. That's why, if you're married or in a relationship, if your significant other is cooking and they mad at you in a bad mood, the meal not going to taste as good. Mm-hmm. It is what it is.
You're right. You're right about that.
Because the best ingredient is love. Mm-hmm. When I want to do this, I got the music playing. I got Nita Baker on, and he gonna be home by 5 o'clock.
You know what you're talking about around here. Okay. Yes, sir.
So and that's it. So when you go into an AI restaurant, it's just gonna be bland.
A hot mess.
I couldn't do that. I wouldn't, and I'm like you. I wouldn't trust.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust me personally.
It is so many moves being made with artificial intelligence now. It is kind of scary. It's very scary.
Very scary. And again, we have to go back to our original position here. We got 3 amendments. Mm-hmm. We weren't the original citizens. You see, when you look at what American meant in some of the older dictionaries, and I had the old Oxford Dictionary, it said of European descent, not of the Aboriginal people. Aboriginal meaning, of the original people from the beginning. That's you and I, you see. So American, they knew you weren't American because you weren't of European, of European descent. So the purpose of all of this, never get away from the root of it. And as artificial intelligence comes in, all these other things, remember, we got 3 amendments. We was 3/5 of a human. Then after the Civil War, it wasn't that they fell in love with us, It was expedient for the country to back off certain things.
Yeah.
But as we were talking earlier, if you get the red states, the Confederate states, let them be red, and you get the Republican states that's red now, and set it on that map, it's going to be almost identical. Almost identical. So we have to be careful of those particular things. We got 3 amendments. 13, 14, and 15. So understand we were added to the Constitution. We have to be mindful of our original position here and be careful not to be pushed back into that corner. You see, and those things like AI, either presidential election, this Project 2025, all these legislations that we're not paying attention to that they're passing here, a little bit there. They get these big bills, there's 2,000 pages that, the people we send to Washington, they're not reading every page, but in the bill they got something that they're taking out, like a DEI or whatever. We have to be careful. Or we're going to wake up one day and it's going to be like, man, it's 1865 again.
I don't even want to think about 1865, but I do want to ask you this.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever thought about, and I'm asking you this because a lot of people I'm hearing are doing this. They're leaving the country. A lot of people are going to Africa. A lot of us are moving to different places, different, states in Africa. Is that something that you ever thought about, or what are your thoughts?
I haven't thought about leaving. I would love to visit one day because that's something I said I wanted to do. But contrary to belief, I believe we have something here, divinely, and we just have to be patient and productive enough to bring it out. You see, we got everything we need here, and picking up and running. Say we go to Africa, okay, what are we bringing to Africa? Are we going to be dependent on them? You see? You can't you want to run and go to another country, but you don't have the desire, the will to be independent. You're just going to be another burden on another government. We have to change our mindset. That's what's wrong with us. And I got to say this, and I hope it don't land the wrong way. We are imprisoned as a society. We are imprisoned. you know, and that's why, you know, I'm able to talk to a lot of different people, because incarceration, confinement, prison is more of a mentality. You see, it's more psychology than it is geography. And so we have to think like free people now, and we don't. We wait and we expect people to do things for us, and even they teach us these things, and religion plays a lot of part in it. I don't want to, you know, get into that, but we have this messianic complex that somebody going to show up and take a wand and wave it, and everything is going to be all right. But when we read and study, it was always the people had certain things they had to do. You know, you can go read in your Bible, whatever religious book. The people had to do something.
You got to put that work in.
You got to put that work in. And the young people, they big on that statement, hey, you know, I put in work. Well, guess what? We got to put in the right kind of work.
The right kind. Like, what's your definition of work, son? Wow. You know what, Kenneth Muhammad, I have definitely enjoyed you today on the Verbally Effective Podcast.
Okay.
What's next for you?
Well, right now, as I was telling the young man when I came in, I want to continue to talk about from numbers to narrative with the Vera Institute of Justice. I'm looking at a few other opportunities. I really want to deal with restorative justice. Mm-hmm. I think we have to heal as a people, you know, and that's going to help us heal our communities, heal our cities, heal our nation, heal our world. Their part is left out of criminal justice, the healing. We got to be able to restore one's dignity. You know, when you look at that root word, rehabilitation, you know, to restore one's dignity. And your dignity, if I'm always labeled as an ex-felon, or I'm from this part of Memphis, I live right here, or, you know, mom this, my dad that, then, you know, when you don't feel good about yourself, then, you know, that's what you're going to produce. So that's the thing that I want to do. I want to be involved. I want to be a voice for those of us who have done time, who have made a mistake, but want to come out and show, as, you know, I heard the minister say that, hey, you know, everybody can be redeemed. Everybody can come back and have a comeback story. You can atone for what it is, and you can make a vital impact in your community. And we have to stop throwing people away. You can't throw a person away because they went to jail. You can't throw these young people away because they make a mistake. They're gonna make mistakes. This society that we live in is set against them, and that's another podcast we can talk about. But it's not an accident. I bet if you go around and get together with your friends, I can get together with my friends, that we are all having the same problems out of our children, especially our young black boys.
You're right.
It's not an accident. So I want to be a voice for that. I want to make a positive impact in the community, and I want to just extend my hand to anybody who think I may be able to help them become, you know, talk, be an example. I can just say, hey, man, I did time, I got out, I'm doing all right. And, you know, whatever it is, but that's what's on the horizon for me. I really want to get the Onus Initiative up, and so the next time I come back, we actually be able to provide certain services for those who've been impacted by the criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. You have indeed been a pleasure today. How can everyone follow you either on social media or your website to continue to see what you got going on your journey?
I'm on social media, just my name, Kenneth Muhammad, Facebook, Instagram, all those things are LinkedIn, all those things are up under my name, Kenneth Muhammad. And then once you get on there, then you'll be able to navigate. And I usually put on posts, you know, what I'm doing or whatnot. So Kenneth Muhammad, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and we can go from there.
Okay, Mr. Social Media. You out here now, Mr. Muhammad. I really appreciate you for agreeing to come on the podcast and sharing your amazing story.
Thank you for having me.
And it's so much more story to be told.
Yes, man.
We just got a little hint of it today.
Yeah, we got to do a part 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Yes, and I feel that we need to get your podcast started.
Oh, okay. You mentioned that once for the second time. Okay.
Probably the third, but we're gonna get it going.
Okay, yeah, I would love that.
Yes, we're gonna work on that soon. But you're doing some amazing work out here in the Memphis community and beyond. And Do you feel proud of yourself?
I do, because there was a point in my life once I was incarcerated, I never thought I would get out, and I never thought that my life would, be of anything of value. And again, I didn't wait till I got out to start making the change. I started in there. I didn't start immediately, but eventually one day, again, I heard that, that there's no human being that cannot be redeemed.
Yes.
And I began the process, of self-improvement, because that's the basis for community development. We have to improve ourselves individually, and then once we do that, we can improve our families, then we can improve our communities, then we can improve the world.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Kenneth Muhammad, for joining me today yet again on the Verbally Effective Podcast. I truly enjoyed you.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed myself so very much.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You guys out there in Verbally Effective Land may be hearing a part 2 very soon with Kenneth Muhammad. We enjoyed him today here on the Verbally Effective Podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on all social media platforms and on their YouTube channel. I'll check in again with you guys next week. Thank you for listening.